Who stabbed a Hey, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect and all the brothers pushing this work in sincerity and truth. This is Brother Tamayan from GMS Toronto coming at you with another video. I'm going to attack this video by probably 3 different angles, right? Because what this young man did, was extremely diabolical, right? Murdering a 71-year-old woman, and this all judgment of the Lord. He got judged, right? And she got judged. This is how the Lord operate. He moves in mysterious ways, First thing first, I would attack it by this angle. In Toronto, young offenders' faces are not supposed to be on the news, right? Only when it's a Jake or some person of color that then they put their faces plastered all over the news when they do something this horrendous, right? So this is them making you the face of criminal activities. He's a 14-year-old. His face is not supposed to be plastered all over the news, all over Instagram, because his identity is not supposed to be out there, right? That's how this whole so-called race plays a very important factor in this in cases like this. There are times when things have been done and it's a young offender that's of another race and they hide his identity. That's how he's an Edomite. There was this kid that pretty much burned his parents' house down, stabbed their dog up, right? His face was never plastered all over the news. He was 14 years old, just like him, right? But Jake, anytime he goes off and goes on one of these, which is once in a while, you'll see an Israelite doing things like this, right? And automatically they become the face of crime. I think it was last month, an Edomite stabbed up an old woman in the east end of the city. And I don't think his face was plastered on the internet like this, right? They came up with all manner of excuses. He has mental health issues and all this stuff, right? But now this Jake, he went out and robbed this woman, which is, you're not supposed to be doing these things, man. We're princes, we're kings, we're priests. That's how the Lord made our people to be. We're saints. We're not supposed to be doing things like this, but, this is where we are. This is where we are. This is our young offenders, our young men. These are the things that they're involved in, man. Right? For years, Esau was telling you not to hit your child, not to rebuke your child, just let them do whatever the fuck they want to do. And now this is the consequences of telling parents really to not discipline their children, right? This is what happens when you cocker your son, man. So let's get into the scriptures. Let's get into train up a child. Let's go to Proverbs. Train up a child in the way he should go, right? Proverbs 22:6 says, "You train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And that's a factual statement. That's a scripture right here, right? We're seeing these YNs, as they call them, act out, right? Because there are no consequences of their actions. You think if these YNs, whatever you want to call them, young offenders, if they were disciplined at home, you think these things would have happened? People always talk about the belt and the switch is not good for children, but look at what's happening. They're not getting the belt, they're not getting their switches, and look, they're committing crimes, and the crimes are getting worse and worse, right? The scripture talks about beating your damn son, man, okay? And the scripture talk about taking your sons out if they're acting up and they're not listening to their parents. But Esau, Edom, I remember years ago when Adrian Peterson, right? Peterson, I remember this, beat his daughter, right? And everyone talked about abuse. I think this was 2014. I remember this. I was young. I was younger. Minnesota Vikings. Adrian Peterson was done done in by horrific visuals and child. Let me see, where is it? Where is it? Okay. The startling images of Adrian Peterson discipline of his son, telling the story of a player who doesn't belong on the field until he proves. See? So when you discipline your son, you know, they're gonna tell you it's abuse. Sometimes when a boy turns to a certain age, you have to punch that motherfucker in his mouth sometimes, man. His testosterone's a little high, right? He's gonna want to back talk to his mother. He's gonna want to back talk to you, right? And sometimes a punch in the mouth, or fucking you bend his ass over and you beat his ass, man. Okay? There should be some kind of fear by the father and the so-called system that we're living in, man. There's no fear of the system, and there's no fear of the fathers. It says here, Redskin running back Adrian Peterson, who served 1 year suspension in the NFL after he was charged with child abuse. So when you discipline your son or your daughters, this is what they say about you, right? You're a child abuser. When the scriptures clearly tell you can discipline your child. And now, when this happens, now they put you as the face of crime. You can't discipline your son nor daughters, but then when you do, they call the police on you, right? And then when you don't, and they start committing crimes like this, then you're the face of crime. So you can't win as an Israelite in this society, man. This nigga look like he has demons on him, okay? So he's in Toronto, so let me see. Yeah, he's in Toronto. He's a young offender in Toronto. But it's embarrassing seeing our young men have fainted, man. All right. So the scripture says, Isaiah 51:20, thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in the net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy power, man. So when you see so-called ghetto niggas on the street corner, just there like in piles, and they're just pretty much there to cause trouble, really, because they should be somewhere being constructive, right? They should be at home. They should be at home helping their fathers and their mothers, right? But you know, when they get to a certain age, sometimes the father's not there. The mother is the only one in the family, and you know, to take care of these children, because you know sometimes they just run their mouths, or they break up the family because a man fuck another woman, right? They think about themselves and their feelings over the children. Most of the times, they think a man sleeping with another woman while he has one is the worst thing in the world, right? That's what they think. But a son who commits crime like this, while with no father in the house, right? Now the mother gets the blame, you know, because she can't be a fucking she can't be a cornerstone of a household, man. The only time she gets to be a cornerstone of the household is when a man is behind her, when there's a father in the house and she gets to run the house, right? But when the father leaves, then everyone knows it's all fluff. The only reason why sons and daughters listen to mothers is because they know if they don't listen to the mother, the father's gonna step in. So they really have to listen to, you know, they really have to listen to the father at the end of the day. She's more vocal in the house, so she gets to say certain things, and then everyone does it because they know if they don't do it, then the muscle's gonna come, right? But as you know, everyone knows it's all fluff, you know. But when there's no father in the house, man, there's no direction, right? Thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in the net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy power, man. You know, so these spirits are just meant to do what they do. Spirits Spirits of vengeance, made for vengeance. Who knows what that woman did in her past life, right? So this is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 39 and 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Right? This is what happens, man. So certain spirits are coming back into bodies, and they're committing the crimes that the Lord put them on the earth to commit. Right? Because this doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. You robbing a 14-year-old robbing a 71-year-old, that makes a lot of sense, because who is he gonna rob? Who else is he gonna rob? Bullies and all these things, they focus on the weak, right? They rob the weak, and we don't know what she did to him. We don't know what she did in the past. Like I said, I'm gonna attack this video from different angles, because we're spiritual men, right? The Lord don't just let things happen to people just like that, because there's always an excuse. There's always a situation that you've done something that the Lord can use against you, right? Like all of us, the Lord can kill everyone, every man and every Israelite man on this planet right now if he wants to, because he will be justified, not because he's the power, the almighty, right? The highest, the kings of all kings, the lords of all lords, power of all powers, right? But we've offended the Lord in many ways, in many lifetimes. So the Lord is always justified in taking out an Israelite. So that young man is just him murdering that woman, that's justified. The Lord put him down here to do that, because this is the place of judgment, man. Place of judgment under the sun. Ecclesiastes 3 and 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. So that's the earth, right? This is where you come back to face your judgment. That 71-year-old woman, she's back here for judgment. That 14-year-old boy, he's back here for judgment. All right? And this is what the scripture says about Sirach 31. Okay? Or is it Sirach 30? Sirach 30. And I'll read this for these babies, kids, for you Israelite men to know. This is how you raise your children. And you Edomites, you should take a page out of the scriptures, man, because you're the one who put your hands in the scriptures, right? And this society should be governed like this, because you Israelite men and women know you cannot raise your Israelite son just like how these Edomites raise their children. Our children are more aggressive. The testosterone is more higher. We're lively. Okay, you cannot raise your son soft. Let him get away with a lot of shit, because the end is him becoming a young offender, or a YN. He that loveth his son, and this is Sirach 30 and 1. He that loveth his son causeth him often to feel the rod, right? That he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, right? And shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. So that son right there is an example of a son that hasn't been chastised. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. But our sons are not being grieved. Our enemies are not being grieved by our sons, man, right? I don't have any children, but it's embarrassing to see these young offenders doing the things that they do. They take drugs, they drink lean, right? They commit all manner of crimes. It's embarrassing as a nation itself, Though his father died, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he hath left one behind him that is like himself. So I've seen the opposite of this. I've seen fathers, right? Not family men or anything, but fathers that has a name in the street, and their sons come along and hear about their father's reputation, and they try to pretty much mirror their fathers in that way, and end up in the jail cells, right? Oh, my father was this. Oh, yeah, I heard your dad used to do this, and your dad was that. He was the man in his day. And then you hear these things, and you want to do the same shit. And now you end up the same way your fathers have ended up in a jail system, right? Police chases, guns, people shooting at you, right? These are the things that your father had to go through, not knowing, you not knowing that these are the things that he had to go through as a young man, right? And to build his so-called rep, right? But there's an opposite way, man, the righteous way, where men seem to heard about their fathers being great men, and they try to mirror that man. So this is what the scripture is talking about. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. So you cannot be soft with these niggas, man. Right? You cannot be soft with your son. Right? You can't be laughing with him, playing with him when he's doing something wrong. And horse not broken, becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. Right? So you have to really rebuke these sons and daughters. You have to really set them on the right path, or else they will become willful, man. They will become headstrong like a damn horse. In this time, rude. Okay, they'll be rude as hell, combative, right? Disrespectful. Conquer thy son, and he shall make thee afraid, right? Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. This is exactly what we're seeing in this time. Heaviness from these parents, man. Right? These parents are going through nothing but heaviness. They get disrespected at home, right? Sometimes these sons are locked in their rooms. You can't go in their rooms. Only Edomites used to be able to do these things. Now this has passed down to you Israelites, man. You can't talk to your sons. They'll size you up. Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end. Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. So always have this young man or young woman do extracurricular activities, man. You can't have them in the street just wilding out. You can't have them, I'm going to go sleep over. 15 years old. Sleep over where? Right? You can't have them just sitting around either. They have to be active. They have to be active in righteousness. You have to be active in extracurricular activities, right? Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies, man. You can't folly. You can't be winking at his follies. When he gets out of line, you have to put him in his place every single time, right? Last week, no, actually 2 days ago, I'm at this grocery store, and this woman is in there with her son, so-called black woman, and this dude is running around, man. He almost pulled because I usually make wine. I bought this glass case, this glass bottle to make wine, and this guy ran, and he's about four or five, almost pulled the thing out of my hand, right? He has no instruction or guidance in the house, because guess what? It looked like it's a single mother. I was telling my woman about it, like, hey, this is what I saw. Like most women, when they have a son, even at 3, 4, 5 years old, that son knows that he can take advantage of the mother right off the bat, right? Because there's no father in the house. Bow down his neck while he is young. While he is young. Have you tried bending a tree when it's 20 feet tall, 100 feet tall? You can't. It's impossible for a man. But when a tree is in its young stage, that's when you bend the damn tree, right? And beat him on his sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and disobedient unto thee, and bring sorrow to thine heart. So, Scripture says, chastise thy son, and hold him to labor. These little niggas, they don't want to work. They want to go out and rob. There's no one to tell them to do this and do that. There's no one to tell them, hey, you need to get a job. There's no one to teach them how to use their hands, right? In a trade or whatever the case may be. Lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee, right? And this is what you see here. This is what you see here. I can go into another scripture when it talks about beating. You know what? I might just do it, right? And laws on an unruly child. Let's go right into I think Leviticus, man. Deuteronomy actually 21. It says that if a man, 21 and 18, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of his city, and unto the gate of his place, and they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Right? And all the men of the city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shall thou put out evil away among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. Okay, so some people might say this is extreme. Some people might say this is too much. Because I remember Barack Obama in 2008, around there, talked about this scripture right here. Oh, you say, I don't believe in the Bible because it says you should stone your sons. Listen, is that you stone him? Is that you put your son to death? Or he put an old lady to death, man? Okay, these are the two things. Is either this or this. Okay? I would rather this to happen to my son than this to happen to my son. I'll tell you this right now. If I had a son, right? This would be the best option for me and my son than this. Okay? Because if you don't take some of these spirits out, man, this is what happens. And he's probably gonna do life in prison. He's never gonna come back out, because they're gonna wait until his dumbass is 18 and is set on him, right? But if this was done to this nigga, right? If this was done to this nigga, then this wouldn't have happened, right? I mean, all of this is the judgment of the Lord at the end of the day. But this is needed in a society in order for this to not happen, because guess what? When children see this, then they won't do this. Or when children see this wouldn't have even been a thought in his mind, because he knows that this can happen to him if he doesn't listen to his parents, man. And this is what's happening in a society like this. This is needed. Okay? The law, statutes, and commandments is needed in a society, any society, in order for society to run freely and smoothly, man. And no crime, no disrespect to parents, and all these things, right? Okay. I'll leave it there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect and all the brothers pushing this work in sincerity and truth. Shalom.